It's the hour of dawn, pure and peaceful. For 300 years, every dawn has been as peaceful in this Babu Para in North Calcutta. At this hour, the Para has still to brush away the mist of sleep. Vanishing darkness has yet to slip out of the chinks of the wall. A hush holds the alley in a trance, reviving 1,000 dreams that linger even in the first stirrings of the morning. The well of dreams then runs dry, and the magic of the morning gives way to the clearing of the day. The neighborhood now comes out of its stupor, as it has every day for a long time. Passing years have hardly changed anything. Age has merely etched its lines here in tarnished metal, while in the meandering, mouldering bylanes, life runs on, unchanged by the ravages of time. Long ago, child Calcutta lived in this labyrinth of lanes. The tangle of courtyards is where she grew up and looked for her place in the world, seeking with her solitary eyes a way out of this weaving maze. The city, now 300 years young, has grown out of those innocent dreams of childhood. But the dreams still remain, entwined in the memories of this old worldly para, memories of 3 centuries gone by. "300 years ago, on a soggy monsoon afternoon, Job Charnock dropped anchor here on the eastern bank of this river, Hooghly. And thus from the midday halt of Charnock, what a pity, grew a city. The city of Calcutta, the capital of British India. The straggling village where Charnock pitched his camp was where our para is today. It was then Shutanuti, a settlement of weavers in an untamed tropical fen. Where the underground now tunnels its way on Central Avenue, there were palm, mango and bamboo groves with boats on low-lying ditches. Beedon Street then was a cluster of thatched huts. On this expanse of swamp grew the black town of the prosperous natives, a standing relic of which is the palace of Nobokrishno at Sova Bazar, the Rajbati of the Diwan of Lord Clive. The palace today has lost a great deal of its original luster. Sparkle and shine have long gone off its peeling arches. The rusted lamp brackets in its courtyard do not welcome the falling dusk with their warm glow anymore, though they are easily lit by imagination, and the heady days still flash back in the mirror of our minds.
As you can see by scraping slightly here, different layers of the paint flake off at very light pressures. It is now our purpose to remove enough of this secondary paint to get as close to the original layer without destroying the underlaying form. We find that is salt.
To bring life back to the palace, one needs a precise understanding of the process of destruction time and age have mercilessly inflicted on this vital link with our city's childhood. Fortunately, those scientific insights come from none other than Ottmar Kali, Austrian conservationist and restorer extraordinary. The knowledge he leaves behind will serve enormously the return of some of the lost splendor of the Rajbati. If the Rajbati takes us to Calcutta's childhood, this imposing 18th century building on Beedon Street tells us of the city's adolescent years. For this was the house of Ram Dulal Dey, a legendary shipping merchant and pioneer of Indo-US trade. Among his possessions was the only life-size painting of George Washington. Our neighborhood is replete with such history. Each gateway, each building here has its own stock of tales to tell. Every temple its own unique past to reminisce and revive.
We are trying to make our local people understand and feel proud of what they have so that they can participate or they can be motivated to keep those places as they are. For that, slide shows are being arranged, audio visuals are being arranged in places at times, particularly in houses where usually much people visit, so that by and by
To
they are
make people aware of the Para's
what they
history,
have
a
and
walk
may be
through its
interested
lanes is
to
sometimes
preserve.
organized. It begins where Latu Babu Lane, named after a grandson of Ram Dulal Dey, winds off Beedon Street. A few yards away stands one of the stately mansions of the neighborhood, the sweep of its scale reminding us of the power and influence its owners once had. But the hospitality of those days, we discover, hasn't faded yet. It's dispensed proudly, even now, in the squalid alleys, despite the crumbling exterior. We then turn into Nilmoni Mitro Lane, and the same warmth flows out from the grill work in this house. How harmoniously it merges with the Gothic arch and Grecian columns. How wonderfully the suffusion of styles adds to the decaying charm. Such harmony is the essence of the neighborhood's unique rhythm of life. Seldom do we find such spirit of easy acceptance where a stranger can enjoy a siesta undisturbed. This is a legacy the Para can be proud of. If only pride could refurbish the rich pool of tradition or restore the beauty of architectural finery the residents of the neighborhood had earlier so thoughtlessly knocked down or plastered over. And it's not just architectural flourish, but the way lanes run into each other. Houses touch the lanes, and buildings converge into a square where children can play in safety. These are facets of original Calcutta that need to be preserved and handed on, because the neighborhood is a marvel of tropical town planning. There are no shoebox high-rises here, no clouds of smoke and dust hanging low over the streets, and the absence of crass modernism blocks the wheels of pollution, while the combination of lanes and courtyards keeps up a constant circulation of breeze in the houses. How marvelously different our neighborhood is from the rest of the city. Different, too, is the art of living here. So we discover as we cross Grey Street and enter through the open doors of Nirendranath Dev's house. The house today has outlived its past glory, but the family has kept intact the gracious style of living their ancestors had set for themselves. Today, the carved mahogany is rickety, if it hasn't been sold. Portraits have paled, if they're not disintegrating bit by bit. Cobwebs have shrouded the past glory. Dust given it a burial. but a reminder of what once was sometimes shines through, and dignity triumphs over decay.
আমার জন্ম 1910 সালে, কিন্তু আমাদের এই বাড়ি প্রায় 250 বছরের উপর।
I was born
তখন
in
একখানা বাড়ি ছিল,
1910,
রাজা কালীকৃষ্ণ
but this
দেব
house
বাহাদুরের।
is over
ভাগ হয়ে
250
যাওয়ার
years
পর
old.
পেছনটা আমার কাকার, সামনেটা আমাদের। এইখানে তখন কলকাতায় এত ঘিঞ্জি ছিল না, এত লোকজনও ছিল না।
Calcutta at that time wasn't as congested or populated. The streets were empty, there were horse-driven trams and very few buses and cars.
Din and bustle have overpowered the quiet lanes of Nirendranath's memory. Yet, amidst faceless modernity, some of the fascinations of 7 decades ago have survived. There still is the house where the ancestor hero of his boyhood once lived, and where he played out his childhood pranks. That house is an enigma. If there's noise and ugliness without, there's peace and grandeur within. How the Natmundir of this sprawling estate holds its own is anybody's guess. But its ornate stucco seems suspended in time, its rounded arches the discarded set of a period film. Satyajit Ray shot Devi here. There's just the right degree of massiveness in this enclosed space to emphasize the frailty of human life. But none can match the feebleness of glory. The 250-year-old Rajbati across the road bears this out. The crumbling palace was Raja Nabokrishna's ancestral home. Acquired soon after the Battle of Polashi, this tumble-down building today looks its age. Yet in those days, under the Raja's patronage, it was a center of cultural and political activity. Great of the day came here as friends. Robert Clive and Warren Hastings were frequent callers, particularly Clive, since in Nabokrishna he had an advisor, confidant, and tutor in Persian, Urdu, and Sanskrit. The halo of glory has long since disappeared. The collapsing cornice has already accepted the impertinence of trespassers. The decayed dalan spread its arms to protect the homeless. Even memory has dulled. To the lordly manor at Sova Bazar, now it's a game of chance. Whether it'll be relegated to the junkyard of history, or whether it can hold up its head with pride. The first odds in this acid test were called at a recent workshop at the Natmundir of the palace. Here, Otmar Kali, aided by a band of dedicated conservationists, displayed elaborate technique to bring back the flourish of pillars and arches, blunted by years of whitewash. The workshop opened our eyes, for it showed how, with skill, expertise and resources, the finery of the pillars, now coated with an astounding 22 layers of lime, can be gently scraped back to life. Kali surely knew that it would be like this. For his passion is restoration, and he built his formidable reputation by restoring the ceremonial courtroom at Gettysburg and the Hall of Mirrors in Graz, destroyed during the war. With a zeal bordering on obsession, he has rescued castles and cathedrals, manors and music halls in both Europe and America. And he has seen worse than Sova Bazar Palace. But here in North Calcutta, which he compares with Florence and Salzburg, his mission is something new. Here he initiates a much larger urban renewal effort, a campaign in which ordinary residents of the neighborhood, the dadus and dadas, come together to rediscover the original beauty of their Rajbati, something they never before imagined existed.
As to this building, there are two important points to be noted. Firstly, the waterlogging inside the courtyard. Mr. Otomar Curley, who has come from USA, it is his opinion that this waterlogging has to be, some sort of arrangements has to be made so that there is no waterlogging inside this building, because that causes tremendous damage and thus resulting further physical deterioration of the building. The second part is there are children playing inside this courtyard. They play cricket and football and thereby causing further damage. And thirdly, there are more, lot of people, lot of unauthorized occupants are there who have made this building as their night shelter. Unless these three things would be some sort of scheme to be chalked out, and unless this is worked out properly, that is why I run the World Magazine. I go to the neighborhood surrounding buildings. I approach them personally that this is a building that has to be preserved, and thereby causing this public awareness.
That awareness can come from a growing pride in history. And to imbue that sense of pride, we must go back to the days when this lifeless Dalan overflowed to lionize Swami Vivekananda on his return from the Chicago Convention, and its walls reverberated with protests over the arrest of James Long. Even today, thousands throng from far and near to witness Durga Puja here, the oldest in the city. In the awesome silence of this empty hall, let us not forget that its peeling walls were once covered from floor to ceiling with vellum-bound volumes encased in single or double glass. Works in Persian, Arabic, and English held pride of place over those in Bengali or Sanskrit. Only the librarian knew the worth of this priceless collection, as the Babus confined themselves to Port Royal grammar or the study of rhetoric. Today, just a few fragments remain of the magnificent edifice that housed Sir Radhakanta, a grandson of Navakrishna, who wrote Shabdakalpadrum, the first Sanskrit-Bengali dictionary. Startled by the flight of wings, we should not miss the burst of applause in this derelict dance hall as the tablas tehai stilled the jingling feet, or nimble Nikki and bewitching Begum Jan danced around these gilded pillars. Once upon a time, chandeliers here turned night into day, and guests given a special treat. Lord Bentinck was overwhelmed by the sight of grandeur and decoration, while the Babu, redolent with the fragrance of attar, reclined on a golden sofa. And God Save the King struck up as Sahibs and Mem Sahibs emerged from palkis. Only a few statuesque sentinels have weathered the storm of time to guide us to those days of pomp and glory. We cannot go back to those heady days, except in our imagination. So we wonder whether our heritage will be another victim of ruthless indifference, trapped forever in tragic memory, or whether a new war will begin to salvage history from its own ruins. Perhaps the first salvo will be fired by this gift from Clive, which till now has remained silent since the victory salute at Murshidabad. And when that lovely peaceful war really begins, the reverberations will be felt in our para as well. The entire neighborhood will then join hands in the march of restoration. Dadus will forget football and politics to work out strategies. Little girls, unknowing but excited, will lead their grandmothers by the hand. A new generation will shelve its games for a while to be the flag bearer in this war of survival. And birds will spread into the future the message, save